It's time for midweek volleyball action from Holt Fieldhouse as Carson-Newman looks to bounce back after falling to the best in the South Atlantic Conference number 20 Wingate on Friday and get its first home win of the season against the struggling Wasps of Emory and Henry, still in search of its first win in conference play. Thanks for joining us on the Eagle Sports Network alongside the wonderful Rihanna DeCrow. I'm Matt Scalzo. Delighted you could make us a part of your Tuesday night. A chance for both of these teams to get moving in the right direction. For Emory and Henry, it's been a season that they would want to forget. They were picked to finish last in the preseason poll. They sit at 3-10 on the season. If they have any chance to get things moving in the right way, it starts with their star outside hitter, Tori Bowen.
Yeah, I mean, she's really been the key piece to this offense for the Wasps. She's been excelling all season, has been a piece for a couple years now as well, has a little bit of experience on a super young Emory and Henry team. I mean, Carson-Newman in a similar position, though, a lot of young hitters out there, so going to be a battle of the youth out there tonight.
As for Carson-Newman, as you said, it's a young team. They lost a lot of production from last season, but they found a way to pick up where they left off, mainly because of Emerson Osmus on the outside. They enter tonight at the exact midway point of their season, 11-2 overall, but 500 in sack play. Both those losses coming against two of the conference best in Lenore Ryan and Wingate. Now they're trying to get their first home win in 331 days. What's the key tonight for Carson-Newman?
Well, I think it's really going to be getting those outsides activated. Annie Dzikowski and Emerson Osmus have been phenomenal all year long, but this is really a chance for you to experiment. Take your middles, for example. You got to get Maddie Hurst and Bella Cardello going as well. A chance for them to really get some confidence going into this next stretch of games, especially when you have Anderson on Friday.
You mentioned Hurst and Cardello. They've been outstanding defensively, but offensively, you'd like to see a bit more production out of the middle to create more balance offensively. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's awesome when you have the sixth best hitter in the nation on your side of the floor, of course, but she can't just be your only option. If that, it makes you really easy to stop, right? Because all you have to focus on is one thing. Bella Cardello and Maddie Hurst are incredibly talented middle blockers. Get them going. It gives you a couple more weapons to work with down the stretch.
As I said, 331 days since the last win inside Holt Fieldhouse. You wonder who was against? Well, it was these Wasps of Emory and Henry. Carson-Newman 7-0 all-time against Emory and Henry and swept them in both meetings last season. The starters for tonight, the same as it has been for head coach Kat Collins in her second season. Blair Cherry is the setter. Addie Smith starts on the outside alongside Emerson Osmus and Annie Dzikowski. Maddie Hurst and Bella Cardello in the middle, and Trinity Hapey is the libero tonight for Carson-Newman. For the opposition and Emory and Henry, Tori Bowling, who we talked about, is joined alongside Taylor Kelly. Grayson Miller in the middle. Zoe Pace is the setter for Emory and Henry. Haley Harnaker makes her return to an area she's familiar with, a native of Sevierville. Grace Dewey, Gracie Lassig, and Siriana Lee round out the group for Emory and Henry. Pace will have the serve, and we are underway from Holt Fieldhouse. It starts with a tap over, and there is the first look at these Carson-Newman middles. Maddie Hurst, SAC freshman of the year a year ago, getting involved early.
Yeah, and what really makes this Eagles team so hard to defend against is their craftiness. They're not afraid to hit the tip. They can go for the slam as well, but super crafty on the net.
Through the middle, it's kept up by a diving Smith. Cherry's blocked, and Osmus comes from the back row. The Wasps scrambling. Chance for Carson-Newman to capitalize. And it is denied by the top blocking team in the SAC. Miller and Dewey combine on the outside.
Yeah, that's really one you just can't have. You can see that ball fall right in the middle between Hurst and Cherry. Just a little more communication on that front line. Can't have that happen.
A service error comes from Taylor Kelly. Sophomore outside hitter is mainly sees a lot of production in the back row as Dzikowski gets the ball to serve for Carson-Newman. And she returns with a service error of her own. Carson-Newman was swept by Wingate on Friday in its last meeting. Meanwhile, Emory and Henry back-to-back five-setters over the weekend against Guilford and Carolina University as Carson-Newman jumps back in front.
That was one almost that looked a little mistimed there by Maddie Hurst, but she makes it happen. The off-speed actually throws off that ENH block.
The junior captain, Haythie, with the serve. Set to the outside. Haythie with a nice dig on the back row. Out of system set. Smith with the roll shot. Floated up, and Osmus will tap it down. It keeps the point alive. Osmus into the cross court. Nice dig by Kelly in the back row. And a free ball from the Eagles. And a violation called against Carson-Newman gives the point to Emory and Henry. Ties us up at 3.
Man, how scrappy was that rally? Both defenses working overtime on either side of the floor, and really neither team in system at all.
Looked like that point was going to come to a close when Osmus was all alone on the free ball, but an excellent job by Emory and Henry to scramble and keep that point alive. Osmus with the powerful swing, gets it through the block. And there's your first look at one of the top hitters, not only in the conference, but the entire nation, closing in on 200 kills on the season.
She has been just phenomenal all year. She's made production happen even when it hasn't been the Eagles' best game.
Floated over off the serve. Here comes Osmus again. Couldn't find the tight angle. Julissa Hopgood comes in for Kelly. Slots into that front row. Senior out of Lutz, Florida. And Addie Smith pushes it through the block. We've seen Carson-Newman in the early going utilizing the block of Emory and Henry. Such a strong blocking team sometimes can turn in your favor.
Yeah, it's just something that makes you a little bit predictable where, you know, if you go for the hard slam, you're probably going to get turned away, but the tip, I mean, you got to be able to defend to get that against that as well.
Cardello through the middle. There's Hopgood on the outside. Zizikowski with a nice dig out of the front row. And Osmus from the back row goes to a softer roll shot, and Emory and Henry doesn't receive it as clean as they would like.
Yeah, this ENH defense really has struggled throughout the season, but this is going to be one of their harder tests of the year against this Carson-Newman offense.
From the back row, a strong swing on the pipe, and there is Tori Bowling. Leads this team with 110 kills coming into tonight's contest. Has a do-it-all threat that I don't think either of us are anticipating seeing number 3 in blue leave the court.
Yeah, I mean, just a sophomore, you can just see how confident that swing was.
Smith into the cross court. Powerful swing attacking Sydney Davis, who's checked in. And she's one of those other outsides for Carson-Newman that is so dynamic outside of Osmus.
Yeah, she's one of those kind of utility players. She can set. She's kind of that DS and outside hitter, right side if you want to call her that. She's been really dynamic. That's a perfect word to describe her.
Through the middle and getting it down is Grayson Miller. Senior middle blocker out of Georgia. One of the best blockers in the South Atlantic Conference. Averaging over a block per set, and there she is on the offensive end. As Trinity Haythie will return to the back row for Carson-Newman. Back to serve goes Zoe Pace. She's the straw that stirs the drink of this Emory and Henry offense, the starting setter, and which has been a rotating door at times for this Wasps team. Smith again off the block, and Pace with a one-arm save. Dzikowski and bowling this time. Acrobatic. Setter dump from Cherry goes long, and how about that back row from Emory and Henry? Pace and then bowling. All they need is one hand.
Man, you talk about how this defense has struggled this year. It certainly doesn't look like it as of yet.
In system, the back set to Smith, and this time bowling can't do anything about it as Addie Smith picks up her third kill of the night. We talk about her ability to do everything. 13 service aces on the year as well. She's actually listed as a setter on the roster, even though she doesn't typically play that position by nature. As there's a strong double block. Again, it's Dewey and Miller. They meet Dzikowski at the summit. And both teams answering each blow from one another. Nothing really separating these two in the early going.
Perfect read from that Wasp block there. Knew exactly where Dzikowski was going to go with that. She wanted the cross court. They took it away from her.
They go to the middle with Hurst, and there's Maddie Hurst. Once again, has been quiet offensively. We talked about it in the open, and she had a long offseason to get back up to speed, but she's found her form in the early going.
Yeah, that set just a little bit behind her, so she kind of had no other option but to go for the tip. Regardless, it works out well because this ENH block is ready for those heavy swings.
Bowling from the outside. That goes off the antenna. And Carson-Newman grabs a little bit of breathing room for the first time tonight. Dzikowski. Her serve goes long. Kat Collins puts such an emphasis on serving well. Not the best stuff from Carson-Newman to start. Hurst a tough roll shot. Bowling has it turned away. A joust floats back over. Hurst again. She's everywhere. Offensively, defensively, and there's 4 kills for Maddie Hurst.
Yeah, really smart. A tough battle at the net. Kind of could have gone either way, but Maddie Hurst getting on top of that ball, using all 5'11" of her height to get over that one.
She'll take a seat as Bella Cardello comes back in. Haythey with a knuckling serve, and Cardello can't put it away. But an error by the Wasps and Grace Dewey give a point to Carson-Newman regardless. Another tough serve, and it leads to another error. There's only so much Zoe Pace can do there off that first initial pass.
Yeah, I mean, she's inches, maybe millimeters away from touching the net in that front row, but, I mean, that's kind of on Harnichar. She kind of has to see where her setter's coming at off that bad pass and be ready for it.
Haythey continues on this strong service run. Cherry pushes it wide. Almost feels like a gift to Emory and Henry there with the way Haythey was serving.
Yeah, she can be such a tough server. Just no spin on that ball once it leaves her hand. Makes it super tough to read in the back row. Had a couple really good serves against Wingate, too, that kept him in the game.
And that goes long from Emory and Henry. And you saw that on the ticker there. Just 3 kills for Emory and Henry, 8 for Carson-Newman in this first set. Bowling goes off the block, read by Smith. Osmus is back in the front row, blocked but covered by Dzikowski. And Smith dots the corner. Carson-Newman with its largest lead of 5.
And, man, coming at him from all angles now. You have the near side, you have the far side, and Osmus. You don't know where to look.
Tough serve off the net. And a point goes to Carson-Newman. Sydney Davis is one of those other setters that you'll see in this 6-2 offense for Emory and Henry, and Pam Newberry in her 3rd season at the helm. We thought was burning her first timeout, and in fact, she's not. So an abbreviated timeout.
I don't know if they thought maybe there was media, if that's what they were breaking for, or like the referee just told her you can't call a timeout.
Set to the middle, strong dig by Dzikowski, and Osmus punches it over. A back set, and a point for Emory and Henry. That is Molly Cutzhall.
You can see Osmus just all alone there on that near side. Got to have that block set up.
Cardello is late sliding over. Bowling on the serve. A good first pass from Hafey. Good read off the block from Bowling. And a free ball, a chance for the Eagles to capitalize. They go to Osmus. And there's that creativity, that craftiness you alluded to earlier. She's able to get a kill in so many different fashions, and that's another example.
Yeah, just quick thinking there. I mean, dead space in the near side of the court. That's where you have to put the ball.
Strong serve from Osmus. Leads to another free ball from Emory and Henry. Through the middle comes Cardello. Did it get a touch? It did. Carson-Newman by 7. And now we've seen both middles for Carson-Newman get involved. And now there's a timeout taken by E&H and Pam Newberry. And with that, we will step aside for a quick break here on the Eagle Sports Network. Back on the Eagle Sports Network inside Holt Fieldhouse. Matt Scalzo alongside Rayanna DeCrow. Ray, this feels a little slower as we talked about during the break. Maybe a little bit of a hangover after the loss to Wingate. So much energy in that ranked matchup.
Yeah, I mean, hard to say. Long weekend, rain coming down here in Jefferson City, but regardless, the block could be slowing up this game a little bit too. Hard to say.
We'll see how Carson-Newman comes out of this timeout. And it's exactly how the Wasps and E&H wanted to start it, as Hopgood, gets a point off the block. This is an E&H team that's really just trying to find its footing. Preseason is picked to finish last in the coaches poll. They're 0-4 in conference play as there's Addie Smith from the outside with a powerful swing. And a sizzler down the line on a beautiful back set from Cherry. Nothing the other libero, Gracie Lassig, could do. A native of Knoxville. A little bit of a homecoming for her and Harnachar. Miller the tap over. Claire Bolton with the read. Hurst with a strong swing, and she is turned away by this block. Grayson Miller again involved in that double block. And she is such a dynamic piece. We talked about her in the early going. Second in the conference in blocks per set with over 1%. She's got another says only 2. Feels like she's been involved in every single one so far, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, she's so impressive on the front lines. Averaging over a block a set is incredibly challenging, especially in this league with such powerful offensive and very smart offensive players on that front line. So props to her.
Back to Dizikowski. There's Miller again with a tap. And finding the open corner is Grace Dewey. Shrugs her shoulders saying, I'll take that, as Carson-Newman was collapsing in towards the net. And E&H seems to have a little bit of a burst out of this timeout. And that is one way to slow down the momentum. A service error from Zoe Pace, as Carson-Newman is the first to 20.
Just one of those things that kills momentum, especially as a young team. That's something you have to limit.
That's the third service error, and there is a service ace for Carson-Newman. A complete swing in momentum as Carson-Newman closes in on this first set win. Addie Smith, she has had the hot hand offensively tonight for Carson-Newman. That serve goes long, but still for Smith. 5 kills on 7 swings, now the service ace. She's had the spark tonight for Carson-Newman that places so much emphasis on Emerson Osmus. It's nice to see another character in the fold stepping up. Dizikowski from an odd angle. Bowling with a sizzler down the line. Nothing Addie Smith could do about it. Just putting her hands up in defense. Hurst out of the middle. And a violation against Emory, and Henry gives the serve back to Carson-Newman. Good first pass from Kelly. And from the back row, it's Dewey powering through the block. See a look at this angle right up at the net. Block just a little off the net, and Hurst and Osmus not able to deny Dewey. Dump from Cherry off a tough first pass. Dewey again utilizing the block on the outside, and it's back-to-back kills for the junior outside hitter.
You can see the Eagles really trying to set up that block on the outside, just been unsuccessful so far.
Osmus on the tap. And it looked like there was just a little bit of mistiming on her jump, but it still works out in her favor. The off speed confuses Emory and Henry. And now Hayfie, the strong serving junior and captain of this Carson-Newman team, back to the line, looking to close out this first set. Bowling turned away. Cherry and Cardello combining for a block, and it's set point in this opening frame. Hayfie with a dipping serve. Dewey from the outside will keep this set going, as Grace Dewey has seemed to find her swing on the outside. That's her 4th kill in this opening set. As it goes to set point number 2, Sydney Davis goes long, and that is how this first set will come to a close. Back and forth, but Carson-Newman had a strong run in that middle frame, able to take this one 25-19. Second set on the way when we come back on the other side of this break on the Eagle Sports Network. inside Holt Fieldhouse to look at the stats following that first set. Carson-Newman up over 200 in terms of attacking percentage. And they've had a bit more in-system plays leading to those more assists than Emory and Henry. Not shown there, the service errors that have sort of been a thorn in the side of both sides. 4 service errors for Emory and Henry, 3 for Carson-Newman as we come into this second set. Matt Scalzo alongside Rihanna DeCrow on this Tuesday night from Jefferson City. Glad you could be with us as Carson-Newman looks for its first home win since last season when they took down Emory and Henry on November 1st. That was 331 days ago. Meanwhile, Emory and Henry looking for its first win in conference play in 326 days when they took down UVA-Wise on November 6th in straight sets. Looking back at the leaders in that first set, Grace Dewey pacing the way for Emory and Henry with 4 kills on 8 swings. Meanwhile, for Carson-Newman, 5 kills from both Addie Smith and Maddie Hurst. A star middle blocker in her sophomore season with Carson-Newman, really stepping up in that opening frame.
And a really important game, like we talked about pregame, for these two to get going and gain some confidence. Because you look down the stretch at Anderson, you have another game with Wingate. These are options that you want to have in the postseason that feel good about their swings, that feel like they know how to hit the floor. This is a perfect opportunity for them to really gain that confidence and be ready to come out firing, especially in the second half of the season.
And you talked about it in that first set. Addie Smith is a Swiss Army knife of sorts for this Carson-Newman side, listed as a setter, but with Blair Cherry still back and likely to stay with Carson-Newman for the next year or so. Addie Smith picking up another position and another skill in the fold as Claire Bolton will get us going in this second set. And there's the block from Carson-Newman that felt a little slow in that first set. Weren't exactly in form, but Osmus and Hurst on the same page, stonewalling for the first point.
Really big to get this block going. It brings so much confidence, swings so much momentum to your side of the floor.
Dewey down the line, pinballs around, and Osmus can't come up with a save. Grace Dewey really found her swing towards the back half of that first set. Now matches Hurst and Smith for a game-high 5 kills. Here comes Osmus. She's turned away by the block, and Carson-Newman can't recover. Grace Dewey and Grayson Miller meets one of the top hitters in the conference on the outside. And now there's the first ace for the Wasps. Taylor Kelly with a well-placed serve. Goes back to that corner of Osmus and Haythie. A tough second pass, and taking advantage is Tori Bowling. And we talked about it kind of towards that middle part of that second set. But this Carson-Newman team just seemed a little slower than they have of sorts. And a chance for them to bounce back. And Osmus picks up her 4th kill, which puts her to 200 on the season. Taking advantage of miscommunication between this E&H squad. No one really seemed on the same page while that ball was floating up in the air. Osmus with the up on her right arm. And a well-placed shot off the block brings Carson-Newman within 1 as Osmus picks up back-to-back kills. Miller, with nobody up to meet her at the top, takes advantage. And it's back to a 2-point lead for Emory and Henry.
Yeah, just really got to pick her shot there, and there was just a dead space right in the middle of the floor.
Osmus responds out of the middle. For Osmus, who is by her standards relatively quiet in that first set, has come alive in the second set as Blair Cherry and Kat Collins making it a point of emphasis to get her involved. Smith into the corner on the assist from Cardello.
And you got to tip your cap there to Cardello. She was so tight to the net to have the discipline to try and bring that back off the net so Smith had the chance to swing. Really good job.
Bowling pushes it cross court, and Osmus has the read. Now she comes on the swing, and it's another block from Emory and Henry. This time it's Haley Harnaker joining forces with Grace Dewey. Harnaker, a native of Sevierville, Tennessee, about 40 minutes south of Jefferson City. So a bit of a homecoming for her, and for the libero, Grace Lassig, who's from Knoxville. And there's an ace from Sydney Davis. So no aces in that first set from E&H. They've got a pair in the second frame. And Cardello comes through the middle. We talked about that balance in that first set, the importance of getting the middles going. Saw it from Maddie Hurst, who we haven't seen much of in this second set with 5 kills in that first frame. And now Cardello's starting to make her presence felt, and there she is defensively with Addie Smith turning away this front row of Emory and Henry.
She has brought another level of energy to this Carson-Newman lineup this season. She's really been that spark plug in the front row that comes up big on the block when you need her to most.
Leading blocker in the South Atlantic Conference in terms of total blocks and blocks per set coming into tonight's contest. A smart touch down the line is ruled out of bounds by the near side official. Pam Newberry and the E&H squad disagree with the call. Newberry in her 3rd season at Emory and Henry comes in just 18 and 51 for this E&H squad that's young at the D2 level, just joining this division in 2021. Long rally with a couple of free balls mixed in. Harnaker didn't catch it cleanly, and it sails long, and Carson-Newman builds off its first lead in this second set, now leading by a pair in the midst of a 4-0 run. Dizakowski with a BB down the line. Puts Carson-Newman into double figures and continues this scoring run.
Something that makes Annie so special, too, is how fast she swings her arms. So really those line shots become almost impossible to defend.
Set to the outside with Bowling, and she answers back with a line drive kill of her own. Instead, it is ruled in favor of Carson-Newman. Not sure what the ruling was. It'll go down as an error against Bowling as Osmus tries to go to her high arcing serve that just doesn't creep its way over the top of the tape. Julissa Hopgood slots back into the front row as Taylor Kelly will head to the bench. Bowling now has the serve for E&H. Smith into the cross court. Strong dig out of the back row by Bowling. Tough tough serve or tough set rather for Dzikowski to handle. Goes around the outside of the far side antenna. And E&H creeping back into things, trailing by a pair. Smith with a smart shot, goes to the off speed. Saw Lassig just a few steps back behind that 3-meter line. Takes advantage.
And man, it's just so hard because this Carson-Newman team has been taking some pretty big swings, but when they place those tips so perfectly just on top of that 10-foot line, it's hard to get there on time.
Kara Brantley is in for the first time tonight. As the bump set to Dzikowski, and she is turned away by this blocking core of Emory and Henry once again. That time it's Cutzhall with Harnacker. That is block number 6 on the night for this Wasp team. And Dzikowski switches things up from her patented powerful swing, goes to that soft shot that you alluded to with Smith that just finds that open area.
Part of being a defender, too, is knowing when you should touch the ball. Sometimes you have to just trust that there's going to be a teammate back there who's going to be able to get the ball up in the air a little bit better than you.
Great dig out of the back row by Osmus, and Miller can't take advantage of the floating free ball. But Dzikowski goes back to the off-speed, and it pinballs around for another kill.
Yeah, this off-speed shot is killing the Wasps right now.
As it seems to do for a lot of teams. Carson-Newman comes out with those powerful swings one after another from Smith, Osmus, and Dzikowski, now with the middles in the fold tonight. They've kept this Emory and Henry defense off bounce most of the night. And Smith sails it long. There's a thing for Kat Collins to be upset with. I have a feeling it's going to be the serving. She talked to us after the UVA-Wise match on the road, how during practice she cuts out the little pies in the corners for this team to focus on for serving. And Zoe Pace drops in an ace. Tough receive for Emerson Osmus.
Tough serve to read there. That almost looked like, more than halfway through the air, it looked like it was going to go long and just dropped right at the end there.
Goes back to it, and Osmus again can't get a handle on it. Back-to-back aces for Zoe Pace, as Emory and Henry is back within one. That's their 4th ace in the second set alone. Didn't have any in that opening set. And this serve just a little lower, can't creep over the tape. Gets a much-needed point, and the serve, more importantly, back in Carson-Newman's favor. As Claire Bolton will come in. Bolton with a nice out of the back row. Hurst through the middle. Haven't said Maddie Hurst's name in a while. There's kill number 6 on the night for the sophomore. And gives a little bit more energy back to this Eagles team.
Yeah, you see her kind of line up in that outside position sometimes. As a freshman, she was actually listed as an outside as well as a middle.
Tough set to the outside. Nothing Hopgood could do about it. And so after bringing the deficit down to 1 for Emory and Henry, it's back up to a 4-point advantage for Carson-Newman. Cherry goes to the dump, and Miller had a read on it. Cherry's done a good job of keeping this offense in system, but hasn't had the offensive prowess that we've seen from her from throughout most of the season. As that just crawls over the net, and Hayfie, there was really nothing she could do about it except give that lunging effort, as there's the 5th ace in this second set for Emory and Henry. And a line drive from Kelly goes straight into the net.
Both of these teams really struggling from the service line to be consistent.
A combined 11 service errors amongst the two teams. Bowling down the line, splits it past Smith and Bolton in the back row.
Yeah, perfect pocket there. Really big gap between Smith and Bolton, and Bolig choosing her spot really well.
Kamen as the leader in kills. She's continuing to build upon that, and there is Emerson Osmus with an exclamation point on the end of that kill. Beautiful placement into the cross court. Cherry with the serve. Good first pass, Bowling soft shot. Osmus runs in and puts Carson-Newman into the 20s. And a little punch down the line. Ties her with Smith for a team high and match high, 7 kills. And a net violation called against Osmus. We'll give the point to Emory and Henry. Osmus a little bit below her season average of 4.45 kills per set. She's had a good bit in this second set alone. She's got 5 in the second frame after that emphatic kill. Just finding that pocket of space down the line as she came through the middle rather than their prototypical outside swing. And she's got a dig out of the back row against Bowling. Cutsaw plays it off the block, and it deflects down. As E&H continues to just stay within arm's length of this Carson-Newman team. Jumped out to an early lead in the second set. The Eagles have done a good job to respond, but not as clinical as I think Kat Collins would hope, and a chance for this team to bounce back after that sweep against Wingate. As a setter dump this time from Sydney Davis finds Carson-Newman napping in the middle. Cardello turned away, covered by Hayfie. A joust is pushed down by Hopgood. And now E&H starting to build some momentum, back within 1 point. Cherry the set to Cardello, and Bowling keeps it alive. And a tough second pass leads to an error. As Brantley returns to the floor. The junior out of Knoxville has had 7 service aces on the season. Hopgood powers through Hurst and Smith. Over to Dzikowski, who's got a little bit more strength, and pushes that through the double block of Cutsall and Harniker. As Carson-Newman is within 2, and a timeout taken by Pam Newberry and Emory and Henry, who a pair of times in this second set has got within 1, but they haven't had that extra little push to knot things up. Carson-Newman back up by 3. We'll take a quick break here on the Eagle Sports Network. Carson-Newman 2 points away from taking a 2-0 lead in this match overall on a Tuesday night from Mossy Creek. Matt Scalzo alongside Rayanna DeCrow. Ray hard at work on getting the graphic all set for the break in between set 2 and 3. As we come back out of the break, Kara Brantley will have the serve. Just 2 more points needed for Carson-Newman. Strong block. It floats back over to Hurst. Can't put it away. Cherry, the set to the outside. Tizikowski with a sizzling shot. Kept up by Bowling. That catapults it off the tape from Hopgood. Tizikowski now goes to the roll shot and puts Carson-Newman on set point.
And this is what makes it so hard, right? Is you just mix up your shot every time. You never know what's coming. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors. You never can guess.
Is it going to be a tap shot, a hard shot, or is it going to be a service ace from Kara Brantley to put a close on set 2? There's the second service ace for Carson-Newman, and it came at a good time from Brantley to give the Eagles a 2-0 lead. Looking for the sweep on the other side of this break when we return to Holt Fieldhouse on the Eagles Sports Network. Back inside Holt Fieldhouse, you saw a look at the stats through 2 sets between Carson-Newman and Emory and Henry. The Eagles with a 2-0 lead after taking the second set 25 to 20. Matt Scalzo alongside Rayanna DeCrow with you on the Eagles Sports Network. Delighted you could make us a part of your Tuesday night. Carson-Newman looking to get back in the win column and get its first home win in 2025. Their last one came at the tail end of 2024, 331 days ago against this very same E&H squad. haven't had the benefit of playing an opponent to where they could really feel confident getting that first win. Lenore Ryan and Wingate, the first two opponents to roll into Jefferson City in SAC play. Two of the stronger teams in the conference. And now the Eagles looking for a sweep against an Emory and Henry squad that has struggled this year to this point, 3-10 overall, 0-4 in conference play as we're underway in set number 3. Bolton with a diving up. Hurst slamming it through the middle. Maddie Hurst, who had struggled a little bit offensively coming into this point, and especially this midway point of this season, how was she going to respond? And she has answered in a big way. 7 kills on the night for her. And answering back on the other end is the other star middle, Grayson Miller for Emory and Henry. She had it going defensively. That's just her 3rd kill on the offensive end. Cherry goes to the other middle in Cardello on the slide. Wasn't the best contact, but it led to an error from Tori Bowling. Bowling came into tonight as the leader in kills on this Emory and Henry squad, and she's had a tough go of it. Really strong defensive performance from Carson-Newman, and there it is, right on cue. Smith and Cardello stuff Bowling at the net. Cherry on the serve. Leads to an ace, and Carson-Newman with a bit more pep in its step to begin this 3rd frame. Felt a little sluggish through the first 2 sets, and they're off to a big lead to begin set number 3.
Yeah, that's not really the identity of this team. This is a team that likes to play fast, but haven't really felt that yet until this point.
5-1, the early lead for Carson-Newman, blitzing the Wasps in this 3rd frame. And it's Addie Smith with kill number 8. Just threads the needle between the block. Osmus, tip off the block. Cardello comes right down Main Street. And this fast start continues for the Eagles.
Really good pass there from Trinity Hayfie, just so composed, and Cherry barely had to take a step to get that one to Cardello.
Good response for Emory and Henry to get a point back. And it was a 5-0 run from Carson-Newman to take that 6-1 advantage. A block, but it is covered. Osmus through the middle. Eagles are coming out swinging hard in this 3rd set.
Yeah, you can kind of imagine there was maybe a pick up the pace conversation that happened in the set break because these Eagles look different right now.
Osmus with a nice first pass out of the back row. Nice dig by Lassig. In system, Cardello down the middle, soft touch. It was initially called in against Bowling, but the officials making their own ruling at the net. And from our vantage point, it also looked like it landed out.
Yeah, the up judge was right there. He would have been, the best call. He can overrule it anyway.
That goes into the net from Harnacher. Whatever momentum Emory and Henry had, a well-timed timeout at the end of that 2nd set has completely flipped the script in favor of Carson-Newman. terms of momentum. In terms of the match, it was expected to be Carson-Newman, and it has been thus far, but not as clean as we were expecting, and I think what Kat Collins was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the first team the Eagles have faced where the block has been super huge. Not to say that they haven't faced teams that have good blockers, but ENH has been largely effective on that block. That can really throw you out of system if you're not used to it.
Fizikowski drills it down the line. And they're into double figures, a 10-3 lead for Carson-Newman. And they're starting to find just that little bit of space on the outside of the block. And a tough set. This time from Kutzall. Was not exactly used to being in this setting role. As there's been some new pieces in for Emory and Henry, including Alexis Dietertrick. As Hopgood slots back in. Smith to the outside, and misses out of bounds. Fizikowski responds off the block. A well-placed, smart shot. And we've really seen Carson-Newman adjust, as you talked about with how prevalent the blocking presence is from Emory and Henry. They've shifted focus and have played a lot of smart shots. As Avery Sixeye comes in and delivers a beautiful knuckling serve for an ace.
Yeah, saw her go out for a couple games in the middle of this season with maybe what was just a short-term injury, but she's come back and been really good from the service line, really consistent for the Eagles in that department.
Some more struggles on the other side of the net for Emory and Henry. A 14-5 lead for Carson-Newman. They seem well in control and back to the Eagles of old that we're used to seeing. Hafey with a phenomenal save. Leads to a tap over and another point. Everything seems to be falling in Carson-Newman's favor.
Yeah, really well done by Trinity Hafey. She was booking it across the floor to get to that ball in time. Not one you expect to have to dig out, but nonetheless, really good job by the libero.
It's a 10-point advantage for Carson-Newman. They're up 15-5 in set 3 and we seem well on their way to a sweep. We'll take a quick break on the Eagles Sports Network. See you in a few. Back inside Holt Fieldhouse, 15-5, the lead in set number 3 for Carson-Newman over Emory and Henry. Matt Scalzo alongside Randa DeCrow. Delighted you could join us on this Tuesday on the campus of Carson-Newman University. The Eagles looking to get back in the win column after falling to Wingate on Friday, a top 20 team in the country. Trying to pick up their first win at home since November 1st, 2024. That win also came against Emory and Henry. Eagles are 7-0 all time against the Wasps. Maddie Hurst through the middle. And she has just been on it tonight. That's her 8th kill of the night and gives her 100 kills on the season. reigning sack freshman of the year, as Avery Sixeye has come back into the fold, and she's delivered a pair of aces in this 6-0 run. Transferred from UNC Greensboro ahead of this season, had not played in 7 of the last 9 matches. As Blair Cherry wins the joust at the net. And it's a 13-point advantage for Carson-Newman, as some more pieces coming in for Pam Newberry, just trying to find something to go right, as Avery Zuckerware comes in. Hopgood off the top of the net, finds a soft spot inside the 10-foot line. For Emory and Henry, this is them trying to really find their footing. A team that is new in the D2 landscape, coming in 2021, joined the SAC in 2022. Hurst with a light tap over. And now she gets in on the defensive action with Blair Cherry, rejecting a swing up from the middle from Grayson Miller, and it's a 19-6 lead. A completely different complexion in this third set than what we'd seen through sets 1 and 2, as that is well off the mark from Diederich. Thought she got a touch. She did not, and it's a 20-6 advantage for Carson-Newman. Talked about that jump up to D2. Prior to that point, they had played in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, otherwise known as the ODAC. My brother played college baseball in the ODAC for Washington and Lee. Picked up his first career RBI against Emory and Henry when I talked to him today about this match ahead.
Gotta love the D3.
Gritty D3 baseball, and playoff baseball kind of ties in. Also had one of his 6 career home runs against the Wasps. Shout out my brother.
Big stuff.
And we'll turn back to volleyball as Emory and Henry gets a point back, trailing by 14. That came from Hopgood on the last kill. Cherry on the setter dump. Able to find the spot where 3 E&H players were converging, but none of them could get that one. This has been a dominating third set from Carson-Newman. They're hitting over 420 in this third set. E&H, even after that kill, still hitting in the negatives, as Grayson Miller picks up another. Her 5th kill. Bolton with the pass to Cherry. Cardello on the slide is turned away. Osmus on the soft touch. It pinballs around. Cherry goes right back to Osmus. And Bowling with a dig, it floats over. Cardello.
Man, some heavy swings back to back to back, and that defense trying not to break. A really good job by a couple of those free balls. But Carson-Newman fully in system, not a lot you could do there.
As Paige Bussum comes into the match, the other captain alongside Hafey. And playing it off the block is Dewey to get a point. So first little bit we've seen from Kat Collins and getting a piece that we haven't really seen too much of this season. Gets a swing from the outside. Now a back set to Smith. Catapults off the block. Another cover from the Eagles. deflects it off the block. And at this stage in the match for E&H, you're just trying to find some positive things to build on as you continue to push through this 2025 season.
I would say that this match has largely been a positive. They've tried some things out that have worked. You've got to see what this young talent on this WASP team has to offer, and it's going to be interesting to see how they develop down the line, what kind of talent they add in the recruiting classes. Just a few years at the helm for the head coach for Emory and Henry over there, so interesting to see how this develops.
They were competitive through the first two sets. This third set has just been a different animal for Carson-Newman as Addie Smith gets kill number 9. I wouldn't be shocked when you talk to Kat Collins postgame if she challenged her team just a little bit more in between sets 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a clear difference. And, you know, when you come into games and you know that this team is bottom of the conference, you might think it might be an easy game, but you got to come in full speed regardless. And the Eagles turning it on here.
Hafey going full extension. Keeps that point alive. Smith trying to end it. Cherry with a save off the block. And a free ball, a chance to put a bow on this. Cardello does just that. And Carson-Newman picks up the sweep with an emphatic 25-10 win in that third frame.
Man, how about the resilience there in that final point, too? From both sides of the floor, you got to give it to both defenses. That was just fun to watch, some really good and scrappy rallies. And that's volleyball, right? I mean, you try and see who can't make the most errors, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's just about who can dive farther. And the Eagles win in that battle in that last rally, but a really good job on both sides of the floor.
First win at home in 331 days for Carson-Newman. Get their first win at home in 2025 as well. And they improved to 12-2 on the season as Emory and Henry falls to 3-11. Looking ahead for both teams. Carson-Newman heads on the road. They'll take on Anderson Friday night at 7. While Emory and Henry heads home, they'll take on Catawba also Friday night at 6. Both teams kind of in the middle standings of the SAC, but for Carson-Newman, they get a big win in the win column. Addie Smith got into double figures, 10 kills. Really a great supporting cast with multiple players up above 5 kills. 4 of them in Hurst, Dzikowski, Osmus, and of course Smith, as I said, in double figures.
And I can tell you right now, this is how this Carson-Newman volleyball team wants to function. They want to keep you guessing. They want to keep you wondering who's going to throw the next punch. They really did that here tonight, mixed it up quite effectively out there in a good spot, good reference for them down the line to say, okay, what were we doing in this game that was working so we could utilize all our tools?
And you see a look at the final stats, that attacking percentage way up for Carson-Newman. They did a great job defensively bringing down that E&H team. As that'll do it for tonight's broadcast, a special thanks to our entire crew. Jay West and Andrew Rogers doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Of course, to all our camera operators for their help in putting tonight's production together. And, of course, for my partner, Rayanna DeCrow. I've been Matt Scalzo saying so long from Holt Fieldhouse. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night.